Yo, 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 everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the A&E podcast, where today we're going to be talking the future of Star Wars and some of the projects that are coming out. I'm joined again across the table from me by my good buddy, Big Tim, a.k.a. the Dinosaur Man. What is up, brother?
Hey, Jason. Thanks for having me on today. I greatly appreciate it. Looking forward to shooting another episode here of the A&E podcast. Where we're going to talk, obviously, the mixed bag I was talking about last week.
I was just going to say that, man. The mixed bag. We're coming back. We promised it. It's here.
We're going to hit you guys with some good content on our thoughts on the Mando trailer.
Yep.
The Tales of the Jedi trailer, which, I mean, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there's a lot there. There's a lot there.
Dude. Oh,
and then,
God.
most importantly, well, not most importantly, I think most importantly was the Tales of Jedi, but the
closest to this release date.
Yeah, they released another, like, I guess an extended Andor trailer. They didn't really add much to it. They just kind of drew it out a little further.
They just kind of showed more of the same scenes.
Yeah, they didn't give you.
Extended.
Yeah, they didn't give you any new scenes. They just added on to what they previously had.
Yeah, and then they threw on. They just kind of jumbled the order of the scenes and just said, all right, let's change some of this text to this scene and throw it in there.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't want to give away too much. I feel like they gave away a lot kind of already. But
I don't know.
Kind of what
I don't know. I feel like I still kind of don't know what I know what the story's about, obviously, but you're still kind of what is the story about? And I feel like they haven't given us enough of the series to be like, holy shit, yet.
I think and here's my concern about Andor, and no good show is giving you 3 episodes off the rip. Here, I'm going to give you a couple examples.
Okay.
Game of Thrones.
I didn't
one
watch
at a
it,
time.
so I don't know.
House of the Dragon. One at a time. Lord of the Rings, the new show that came out. One at a time. Any of these big time premiere shows that draw audiences, they're only going to bring out 1 episode at a time. Now, the exception of this is Obi-Wan because of the delay. They threw us a bone, but there was no delay on Andor.
But you got to think, right? And I'm gonna throw this out there. I think you can think of a show like on Netflix, right? When they drop Stranger Things, they drop 8 at a fucking time, bro.
I mean,
and that's probably the most successful show.
Well,
right
here's the thing. I'm talking about Disney Plus style. Even the Marvel shows, the Marvel Cinematic Universe shows,
of the most recent Marvel
they're
ones.
all individual episodes, like She-Hulk, 1 episode at a time.
Yeah.
Miss Marvel, 1 episode at a time. Like I said, I think the exception was Obi-Wan, and that was just because they pushed it back, so they gave us 2 episodes. Now, my other theory is...
I know why.
Well, my other theory is that maybe the show has such a slow start, you need 3 episodes to get yourself, locked in.
If you haven't seen our Andor episode, go ahead and check that one out. I talked about in that one how they kind of have showed test audiences the first 4 episodes, and everybody kind of says that the first 3 episodes kind of act as one whole arc for the characters and kind of sets up the rest of the show. So maybe you're right, it does start out slow, and they need kind of that first 3 episode arc for you to kind of understand where the show is going. But also, we haven't had on Disney Plus yet, I think since not even Mandalorian, a 12 episode season. The most they've had is 8, which was Mando.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna.
So that might be another reason they're doing a 3 episode premiere.
The date right now is September 14th, so 1 week from today, Andor will release.
It'll be 2 or 3 days after this episode comes out.
So we'll get 3 episodes there, and then 1 episode every week reoccurring, which would put us till
November,
so that's 9 episodes.
I think.
Put us mid-November, so we'll have an overlap of the 6 episodes of Tales of the Jedi, which comes out in October. So we're gonna have a pretty significant gap from the end of Andor till Mando.
Yeah,
because Mando's not coming out confirmed 2023.
So Andor and Tales of the Jedi are going to overlap for damn near a whole month, because Tales comes out on the 21st of October, which is a Friday. So on Wednesdays we're going to get Andor, and on Fridays we're going to get Tales of the Jedi. I am foaming at the mouth for that.
Yeah, because I think Andor is gonna outlast Tales as well. Because I think there's only 6 episodes.
There's 6 episodes, so it's not gonna outlast it. It's gonna be close. Andor is gonna end on the 23rd of November, and Tales is gonna be 1, 2,
Probably
3, 4,
December, right?
5, 6. It's gonna end 2 days later, so they're gonna end the same week.
Oh wow, that's gonna be a lot of content.
It's a lot of content for that 1 month that they overlap, though, and listen. I'm here for it. I don't care.
Well,
Turn me up.
Of course, we want as much Star Wars as you can physically shove in my face.
Yeah, I think this is kind of an experiment for Disney because they've never had shows overlap like this. Oh, actually, I think they did in Marvel. I think they had What If overlap with something else.
They had What If overlap with Hawkeye. And then,
Hawkeye, yeah.
There was also, I think, a Hawkeye and Winter Soldier overlap as well.
I think it was only 1 week, though, wasn't it?
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like, I'm not going to lie, I feel like those shows came out forever ago.
It does. It feels like a long time, but it was only a year ago.
That's crazy. I mean, that just goes to show you how much content Disney's really pumping out.
It's just like, it's insane, but let's recenter here on our point. Andor's going to come up last on our slate for today, or when we kind of get to the end, because when this releases, you guys are only going to have 2 days before Andor comes out, and then our next episode after this
will be our reaction to episode 1.
Will be our episode 1 reaction, recap, and first 3 episodes. Holy shit! Hold on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I forgot that 3 come out that day.
We're gonna be shooting that episode at like midnight.
Yeah, dude.
I might have to request off.
That's gonna be a late. That's gonna be a late one. I don't know, cause like if I get here at like 7:30, right? I think they're only half-hour episodes, so that's till 8.
No,
8:30, 9.
Episodes.
We could be out of here by like 11.
That's gonna be a letdown. They're only half-hour episodes.
It will be.
I need hour-long episodes.
It will be, but it'll be nice for like the recording slate, because like we wouldn't be here till like midnight every night.
Well, they're not gonna give us 3 episodes every night.
Yeah.
It's only gonna be that first time. So what? We got an hour and a. I mean, I'm hoping it's 3 hours of content.
Listen, I'm fine. Well, because they said that they were gonna release hour-long Obi-Wan episodes, and they ended up being like 37 minutes. Really, really. I'm thinking we're getting 6 hours of Obi-Wan. We actually ended up with like 3.5. You could have just made a fucking movie.
They're saving that for Obi-Wan season 2.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But anyway, it'll only be a couple days before you guys see this episode before, and then after that, Andor's first 3 episodes are going to release, and then we're going to be recording our podcast that same day. That one will be coming out a couple days before the next episode releases. So, you guys, for the next, I don't know, we're going to have content coming to you guys. Don't worry. You're going to be stacked up.
You guys are going to be listening to, you're listening to our podcast, and it's going to be snow on the ground.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
We're watching Andor.
Absolutely. So moving on into our first trailer we're going to talk about Mando's new Season 3 trailer. And this thing, dude, it's hard because there's a lot of scenes, like a lot of shots in there that got me really hype, and a lot of shots that are kind of just pulled from like Boba Fett and just kind of like skinned, I guess, in a way, like, and just kind of like they seem very similar. Like, I don't know. First talking point for this one is going to be Mando is going to be exiled by the Armorer, basically, and told, you're no longer Mandalorian, which you saw on Boba Fett, I believe, right?
Yes. So Book of Boba Fett, he was, the Armorer asked him, hey, did you take off your helmet? He said yes. So she kicked him out right then and there, right after they were training with the Darksaber. So from there, I'm not sure if we're reliving a memory or a flashback or any one of those things, or if this is real time where, maybe he goes back and tries to get back in with his old clan, and she outright says, no, because you took your helmet off. Maybe that's what we're looking at. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so she exiles him and says, basically, you're no longer Mandalorian, and I think from the speculation I've heard, basically she tells him, you need to go back to Mandalore, right, which was blown up by the Empire.
Everybody.
And
pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
If you're relevant in Star Wars, you fought on Mandalore.
Yeah, probably. And so Empire basically just, like, came through and just wiped the planet out, which we saw in Book of Boba Fett. And so he's gonna be returning to Mandalore, and I guess the mission there is to like redeem himself and become Mandalorian again, kind of find himself in his roots on his home planet. I guess I don't know. It's kind of confusing.
We don't know what to expect when we see Mandalore. We don't know the kind of environment it is. We're not sure if it's going to be like a ruined city like Coruscant, or if it's going to be a desert planet that's just ruined, or maybe a city with a forest that's like a ruined city with a forest. We don't know. But if you look at the trailer, you'll see it looks like kind of like, I hate to say it, it looks like a Tatooine kind of vibe.
I feel
we saw some desert or some dirt. I couldn't tell, but you see some white buildings.
I think
when they're dropping out with the jetpacks.
Yeah, I think that literally might just be. I think I know where that scene's from, and I'll get to that. I think Mandalore though is going to be. It's interesting because you see the palace, the same palace that Maul and Ahsoka fight in, and the same palace that Maul kills Satine in. And in Clone Wars, and so you still see that either the same palace or a very similar looking palace that Bo-Katan is in and sits on the throne, and it's kind of Mandalore's throne room, and so I think that Mandalore is going to be a ruined city. I think it's going to be a ruined city with like vegetation growing back and kind of life restarting, kind of there.
Maybe give you like an I Am Legend New York City vibe.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to be like. I definitely do. Because
I could see it.
Because think about it. It was blown to shit by the Empire. Like, there was bombs on bombs on bombs on bombs dropped there. So, they killed every living thing on that planet.
Just about, yeah.
And so life has to restart.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's a circle of life.
So maybe that scene is, again, could be another flashback. Could be a bunch of things. So in that scene, you see about 15 to 20 Mandalorians.
Dude, they drop out and you're like, damn, and they all jetpack up. I think I know what it's from.
And outside of the Mandalorian season 1, where we see all those Mandalorians.
Yeah, and then you see them once in season 2 as well.
But where are they now?
Who knows?
Are they still together? Did they win that battle they were in?
Yeah, because they kind of sacrificed themselves for Mando to get the baby out.
Yeah, so maybe it's a flashback. Maybe they reunited. Maybe they found reinforcements. But what are they engaging to? Where are they going? What are they fighting? Who's the enemy?
So my theory for this is earlier or later in the trailer. I don't really. It's kind of hard not having it in front of me, but when Mando goes and meets up with Greef Karga, who's played by Carl Weathers, you see Greef Karga in a, I don't really know the word for it, but it's kind of like a poncho, but it's like knitted. It's like what they wear in westerns, it's like what Clint Eastwood wears in all his like western movies. What are they called? They're like ponchos basically, but they're knit instead of like plastic. Are they called ponchos?
I think they're still called ponchos.
Are they?
I'm pretty sure.
So I guess it's a poncho. So he's wearing a poncho. So I think he's kind of like the leader of this new town on this desert planet, and he's
sounds familiar.
He's kind of the leader of it, like he was back in season 1 or whatever it was, and I think that's where you're gonna see them fight. I think they're kind of. The Mandalorian is going to go. Din is going to go to this place, kind of for refuge or whatever, and they're going to go to attack him, and he's going to have to kind of fight with Greef Karga and whoever else to fend them off, or maybe the Empire's there. It's kind of hard to tell. But I believe you also see in that same part of the somewhere in that same section, he lands the modified Naboo starfighter on that planet as well, and so maybe we're gonna get. I feel like he's definitely gonna go there, kind of seek refuge from the Mandalorians. I feel like Bo-Katan is going to turn heel against Mando, so that she can acquire the darksaber like she had in a portion of Rebels, and at the beginning. Was it the Rebels? I think it was Rebels, yeah, because Sabine, I think, ends up giving it to her, which was kind of the disgraceful act, which is what led to the Night of a Thousand Tears for the Mandalorians, because Bo-Katan was their leader. So I think that, she is going to try and lust for that power to be the leader of Mandalore again, the rightful leader this time, win it in combat against Mando. And I think she's going to go bad here. And I think that scene where she's staring out the window is Mando's ship coming into Mandalore, and she's like, I'm going to get that thing from you, boy. Like, I'm going to get that shit.
Yeah, I mean, we all know she wants to be the leader of Mandalore, what's left of it. We all know that she's been longing for the darksaber. She tried to take it from Mando at the end of Season 2, but Mando earned it in combat. So
yeah, and she didn't want to, because she's already made that mistake once when she took it from Sabine, and so she won't take it again. She knows, I'm going to have to beat your ass in combat or let you lose so I can beat somebody else.
Maybe, I was also thinking sure, it appeared Cad Bane was dead.
Yeah.
In Book of Boba Fett. Maybe we see him in Mando. Maybe he plays the bad guy again.
I wouldn't mind it. I do like Cad Bane.
He's a fantastic villain.
He is.
And I think he needed a little more screen time. For a villain that with his kind of reputation.
Yeah.
Bring Cad Bane back. Allows you to bring Boba Fett back.
And it was very underwhelming. They only had Cad back for, what was it, one episode?
No, it was like 2 or 3 episodes. He showed up.
It just felt like he didn't have enough screen time.
He shot Cobb Vanth.
Yeah.
Then he made a business deal. Then he showed up at the town, and then him and Boba had that duel, and that was it.
Yeah,
he quote air quote died.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's still no guarantee that he's actually dead. I mean, Boba Fett tried to kill him many, many times.
Yeah, that
he
left
always
a sour
comes
taste
back.
in my mouth, honestly, from that. I was kind of like, man, like, you're gonna bring back a villain like Cad Bane who has given Obi-Wan a run for his money, actually beat Obi-Wan in combat, single combat before, has beaten Obi-Wan and another Jedi. I don't remember or was it another Mandalorian? Beat them both in open combat. I mean, Cad Bane is not one to play with. He's one of the bounty hunters in the galaxy that is like on the level of Boba Fett and Jango Fett, and I guess now like the Mandalorian. Like, these guys are badasses, and maybe even on the level of like Bosk and all them. He kind of was friends with Bosk when he was younger, so.
Bosk doesn't get enough representation.
Yeah, neither does what's his face? The damn, what's his name? Oh, it just came to me. The Wookiee.
Shit. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Black Chrysanthemum. There we go.
Dude, he is a badass.
Dude, I was man.
I thought for some reason I was like, I thought they were gonna try and make him die, and I was like, please don't. I was like, he's so cool.
He's too cool to not keep around for a while.
Oh yeah.
Like, he's just such a cool character, and there's so much stuff in either Legends or like comic books that you could explore with his character that they have explored in those other mediums that we would love to see on the big screen or the small screen, I guess. There's just so much. But Mando and the Naboo Starfighter, kind of what seems like the trailer, get a little upgrade. I think that so we know that the droid that what's her face, the engineer who worked on the Naboo Starfighter, can't remember her name. She has R5 in her possession. R5 was it's confirmed to be the same R5 droid that essentially self-combusted so that Luke could get R2-D2. And so is Mando getting R5? Dude, it was in the back where the normal droid slot is on the Naboo Starfighter, and Baby Yoda was in the front. So are we going to see Mando finally kind of allowing himself to trust droids after what happened with IG and the IG sacrificing himself so that they could live? Are we going to see him finally 100% own a droid now?
I mean, it would be good character development for him to kind of get a droid, but
especially that droid.
the self-combusting nightmare. Yeah.
I mean, dude, it's so cool. It's just there's so much lore behind R5 that has been like kind of like semi-confirmed, but not actually like canonically confirmed. Like George Lucas has said in interviews that like yes, he was like a rebel spy droid who like self-combusted so that Luke could get R2, so that Luke could get the message and all this stuff. But now that George is out of the picture, I don't believe that's no longer canonically true.
I
Unfortunately,
mean, it would be. It's one of those things that would be like absolutely far fetched. You know.
but I'm here for it.
I mean, I always took it as the thing malfunctioned.
Yeah, I mean, we always have, right? That's always been like and they kind of, I think, poke fun at that in the trailer when she smacks his head and like his side piece just like pops off, and it's kind of like, yeah, like that. It's like maybe he's just a piece of shit droid. Like we don't really know, but we love to speculate and think that it's not just a piece of shit droid.
But he started the rebellion. Well,
Yeah, he did his job pretty well. But let's just, I mean, you did, like you said, the Mandalorians, there was a lot of them in that scene, so are they kind of coming back from the shadows of living in the depths to kind of take over? Or not take over, but kind of become more prominent
like
in the galaxy?
you know, maybe reestablish Mandalore.
The might.
what they can. Try to rebuild their clans. You know, like you said, some Mandalorians escaped, some Mandalorians survived. You know, the slaughter of the Empire. So
or weren't present, like Mandalorians like Din or Bo.
Mandalorians were scattered across the galaxy. You know, sure their home base was Mandalore, but they're out doing contracts. They have their own clans on different worlds. You know, eventually they got to come back, rebuild their city, and then reform the culture and reform their numbers. You know, it's. I mean, it's as easy as Din rescuing Grogu. You know, that's a Mandalorian right there now.
Right, and Din was saved the same way, and and Jango Fett was taken in the same way. They were adopted into the Mandalorian culture. They weren't born into it. They were adopted into it. And you see, you know, not only did Jango Fett kind of breed millions of new Mandalorians in the clones, essentially, but also his own son Boba, and there's one more, but I'm not gonna say it because you haven't finished it, so I'm not gonna do it there. But like, it's just like there is more Mandalorians than I think a lot of people really understand. Like they can be adopted into that culture instead of just being born into it, which is not true for all cultures.
Yeah, I mean they can definitely replenish the numbers. It's just a matter of, you know, getting the furnaces going, making that Mandalorian armor.
Yep.
You know, finding Beskar, which obviously just
rare.
is very rare. You know, and it goes for a shit ton of money.
Yeah, and you don't even have to have Mandalorian armor that's made of Beskar, because there's a lot of Mandalorian armor that is not made of Beskar. It's actually made of Durasteel, which is the same thing that Vader's suit is made of. So they're so easy to replenish your numbers, but our question is, these are full-grown Mandalorians. Like, this is only 5 years after Return of the Jedi and after, you know, the Night of a Thousand Tears, where there was, like, everybody got wiped out that we knew of at the time. So where were these ones at? Because there's a shit ton of them. Maybe we'll get an explanation, maybe we won't. Either way, that's not as big of a point for me. I'm not as, like, care as where they came from. I love just the Mandalorians in general. Just their entire culture, it really does fascinate me as a Star Wars fan, kind of how they I don't even know how to word it. Their culture just fascinates me. I think it's super cool. Like their characters.
It's a warriors culture.
We've never had a bad Mandalorian character. Like I don't think we've ever had one where I was like, it was a bad written character. Like they all have really good stories. Like every single one. Satine, Bo-Katan, Mando, Boba Fett, Jango Fett, Sabine, her whole family. Like, there's just so many good ones.
Jango needed, like, a better origin story.
I want to see more Jango Fett. And you know what? Dude, they're happening. Just like last week, the Brain Blasts are happening. And we'll talk about it in a second. When we go up into the Tales of Jedi, we'll talk about that. But I think that's it. I think that's all we can really talk about from the new Mando trailer. So with that being said, we're gonna head on to our first commercial break here, and we'll be back after we hear from our sponsors.
All right, guys, and we're back from our break. But that break, while we enjoy our one sponsor, let's talk about our studio that produces it. They actually have their own merch line. Right now, I am freezing to death in the studio. I have 3 fans blasting, and I mean blasting, ice cold air on me. So I have this nice gray Colormatic Studio hoodie. You know, I got my hood up. I got it's crunched up real nice and cozy and warm.
Oh yeah.
And to top it off, it is a little cold outside. So I have with me this a nice Colormatic Studios mug with some nice hot coffee to keep me going throughout the show. So thank you to Colormatic Studios for the merch. Check it out on the website. It'll be in the link box below. But enough of ads. Let's talk about Tales of the Jedi. And what I want to talk about right off the rip, this might be a lot people are going to panic about. They're going to be like, oh my God, this, oh my God, that, oh my God, this. We've been talking about this for weeks. Honestly, months, actually. The reappearing of Mace Windu. Now, not in the way you would expect, but more like a pre-version, pre-episode 1, pre-episode 2, pre-episode 3. We have young Mace. Not like young as in child, but like, older male. He is a master at this point. At least it seems to be a master at this point. Probably on the council, and he is palling around with Count Dooku.
Yeah. Dude, it's interesting. Mace motherfucking Windu, baby. Gotta give it out for Samuel L. We don't know yet. I don't know if it's been confirmed. I don't know if Samuel L. is coming back to do the voice acting for it. He did for season 7 of the Clone Wars, so he might be back again. Like you said, it's not the way we expected to see Mace back in Star Wars again. Because, like, let's face it, we all want to see him in live action again. But we are getting him in a younger version of him showing up in Tales of the Jedi. Going to be showing up in Dooku's, 3 episodes. We don't really know yet how they're going to break down the series, but it's a 6-episode series focused on 2 different characters. It's going to be Ahsoka and Dooku. So I'm assuming it's going to be 3 and 3 split. But Mace Windu's going to show up, man. We're going to see Mace and Dooku kind of get to interact with each other, and we kind of get to see why the fall of Dooku was so tragic, not only for the Jedi, but for the people involved directly, like Qui-Gon and Mace and Yoda, because Yoda was his master. It's just, dude, it's going to be so interesting to see from the perspective of Mace and kind of the reasons that he was so, the speculation of Mace, of Anakin was so, like, high. Like, he was very worried about Anakin kind of taking that seat on the Jedi Council and all that stuff, because he had already dealt with somebody who had fallen to the dark side, who was a really good friend of his. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how they work that in there and show us. But a lot of tension in Dooku's parts of that trailer, and I just can't wait, dude. There's so much to break down from that trailer. It's kind of hard to talk about every single point just because there's so much.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting points that we can bring up. You see, like, a couple key points that really stood out to me. Obviously, we have, you see baby Ahsoka being found, saying Ahsoka, she's a Jedi,
Yeah, her mother.
As a young child. We have Dooku fighting just about everybody. I mean, like,
yeah.
If there's somebody on the screen, Dooku has a lightsaber pointing at him.
Yeah, it's really, I think this is where the Jedi kind of begin to realize that, like, he's falling. Like, he's falling and we're not getting him back, because we see him force push Qui-Gon against a ship. I'm assuming a ship. It looks like a ship, maybe a metal wall. But he force pushes him back when he tries to stop Dooku from doing some bad act. It's never specified, but some kind of bad act. And then so he tells him to stop, and he gets frustrated about it. Force pushes Qui-Gon back, who, interestingly enough, young Qui-Gon, is being voiced by Liam Neeson's son. So I thought that was interesting.
Check that out.
I guess maybe they have like a similar voice, and so we kind of get a younger version of kind of that Qui-Gon voice.
Yeah, I mean something to keep it nostalgic. You know,
Awesome.
It's what you really want. And you know you have, I guess that there's a lot more to that Dooku side. I mean, like I want to reflect back on the prequels, episode 1, 2, and 3. So up until episode 2, even late episode 2, nobody really knows that like Dooku's around or Dooku's like.
Yeah, they kind of just think he went back to being a count of his own. The Count of Sereno.
Yeah, like he just disappeared and never thought about doing X, Y, and Z. And then even in episode 1, nobody knows that the Sith's back
until Maul
shows up, and then even then they
Qui-Gon.
go. They're like, well, where's the as again the rule of 2? Where's the other Sith?
Right.
And
they don't know who died.
Yeah, and at this point you have to think there's Dooku's running around, plotting. You have Maul, and you have Sidious.
Yeah,
now, I know. Like Dooku's not really a Sith,
at this point in the timeline, Maul wouldn't be either, which means that Plagueis is still alive because Plagueis dies right before the Phantom Menace starts. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a blending of scenes in the trailer. At least that's how it appeared to me. You see the Inquisitor fighting Ahsoka, but you never see his face. Then you come back and you see another Sith in a mask. So maybe the person in the mask is either the Inquisitor or maybe it's Plagueis. And the mask, I don't think, because I believe it does make an appearance in some of the other shows, maybe it's not exclusive to one person. Maybe it's something that the Sith used a long time, because you see even in legacy stuff, you see that mask reoccurring.
Yeah.
So maybe this was a Sith mask. This is something that Sith used. So it could be Plagueis. It could be a apprentice of Plagueis, a hidden apprentice, or something along those lines. But they had to come from somewhere.
Yeah, it's really interesting because like there's so much in that trailer, and it's a time period that we don't get to explore because it's before the Phantom Menace, but Yaddle disappears at some point during the Phantom Menace and like gives up the Jedi Order in a way before like the final scenes of the Phantom Menace. So she's showing up in this, which means that this is post or pre Phantom Menace somewhere. At least halfway through the Phantom Menace somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, and at this point as well, you have Qui-Gon, who's not a master yet. He's still an apprentice for Dooku.
Yeah, under Dooku.
So, the time frame here could be 5 years, 3 years, 2 years,
yeah.
1 year. It could be
during.
It could be during.
Really?
Yeah, because there is 3 episodes for them to work with. So they could jump a lot of time here.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting because you see him talking about loss. It opens up with Padme's funeral, which is going to be from Ahsoka's episodes in point of view, since Dooku was already dead by this point. So it opens up on Padme's funeral and kind of talking about loss and loss of life and how you should really respect life. And then it pans to an image of Dooku kind of, I don't know if it's like meditating or just staring at or maybe reminiscing with the Tree of Life, which is at the Jedi Temple. And which we've seen him there before in Yoda's visions from Clone Wars, I think Season 3 it was. And so it's just interesting to see, that they talk about life and death, and then it kind of pans to a very somber-looking Dooku, who we don't really know what he's thinking in that moment, but we know he's thinking like something like, man, did I really just do that? Or like, am I really having these dark thoughts intruding into my brain? And you see it throughout the whole trailer. He kind of looks like regretful of his actions after he does these bad things. And it's really it's interesting to see that because like you can kind of tell it really is a struggle within him whether he wants to be good or bad.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, you even see that struggle in episode 2. Because I mean, we all recognize the scene on Geonosis when Dooku says, "What if I told you that the Republic is being controlled by a Sith Lord?"
Right, he literally gives up Sidious in that moment.
He gives up Palpatine.
Like,
he
straight up
yeah.
gives it up to Obi-Wan, and
So-
Obi-Wan's like, nah.
So that's what I'm saying. This guy's been battling, where he wants to be for years at this point. Even at the end, he's battling. Do I want to be part of this plan? Do I want to be part of, what comes next?
Yeah, because
And ultimately, he was the biggest domino in probably Anakin falling to the dark side.
Yeah, and
He gave in to the hate and the revenge, and
killed Dooku, cut his head off.
yeah, for
his hands and his head.
Yeah, for taking his hands, he took everything else. So
And
I mean, Dooku's a huge part of the prequel trilogy. Honestly, if my personal opinion.
The thing about Dooku that's so intriguing is that Dooku didn't hate the Jedi. Like most Sith, like Sidious hated the Jedi. Maul hated the Jedi. Even Anakin, when he turns, he hates the Jedi for what they've done to his life. Dooku never hated the Jedi for what they did to him personally. He didn't hate them. I shouldn't even use that word, but he didn't like what they were becoming in terms of politically with the Republic. Like they were giving in to all these political notions and chiming in on things that are of none of their responsibility. And his problem was that they were no longer caring about the will of the Force, kind of how he was teaching Qui-Gon and which is why Qui-Gon turns out so differently than every other Jedi, because Dooku was kind of teaching him, listen, they're going in a bad path. Like, you know it, I know it. So I think Dooku really is the biggest domino piece. He's the biggest pawn in the terms of Dooku or Sidious's plan. Because not only is he the one who trained Qui-Gon, right? And if Qui-Gon, we all know, if Qui-Gon lived, Anakin never turns to the dark side if Qui-Gon's alive. It's just how it is. Like, we all know that. So, and Dooku trained him. And then Dooku's the ultimate reason that Anakin fully gives into that dark side emotion in Episode 3 and cuts his head off. So, this show is really going to give a lot of context to the prequels and to a lot of characters that we already love and some characters who we haven't seen enough of, like Yaddle.
Yeah, you're gonna get a lot in Tales. What you take of it though is gonna be solely on you.
Yeah.
You really have to pay attention to these things and learn these characters and understand where their piece falls, because I think we've all learned by now, Disney and Marvel and Star Wars, they don't put a character in there just to put a character in there.
Yeah,
they put it in there for a reason, for a certain connection or point of view or a future connection down the line.
And it's crazy because it's even before Disney acquired either Lucasfilm or Marvel. Lucasfilm and Marvel were already doing that. Like, Marvel was already doing that back in Iron Man. The first Iron Man. Like, they were already putting in characters to use later. They were already setting up characters to use later. George Lucas has been putting in characters in the movies to use later for 40-something years now. So it's not anything new that they haven't been doing. So if there's a character that shows up in Tales of the Jedi or any other future Star Wars project, they're there for a reason.
Yeah, they're going to link up somewhere. Whether it's to finish a storyline, expand a storyline, or to start a new one.
Yeah, I think that's why they chose who they chose for the series. Dooku is going to link that prequel era kind of to that pre-time and kind of give more context to the prequels and why the characters are the way they are in the prequels. And then Ahsoka's episodes are going to give us more insight into Anakin and Obi-Wan and their relationship, all three of them together, and Padme, her relationship to Padme, and kind of her relationship with the Jedi Order as a whole. as well as bridging that gap to eventually her own series, which is coming out in the next year as well.
Yeah, I personally think Tales is going to be essentially a sequel. I mean, not a sequel, a prequel to what we see in Ahsoka. I mean, I know Rebels is essentially the same thing,
Yep.
and so is Clone Wars.
Yep.
But I think this will just add a little bit of meat to the bone,
yeah,
so to speak.
And when we were talking about a lot with the Dooku series, the time frame. What's going to be the time frame? I think with the Ahsoka series, it's even more interesting to talk about the time frame because I don't know, I think she's the same age as Anakin, but she gets to the temple before Anakin. So she was born the same year, but gets there long before, but ends up being his Padawan, right? Which just shows how fast Anakin progressed. Like, he was already 9 years old, but he progressed faster than almost any other Jedi in history. And, like, he was a master younger than anybody else. Well, he never made master, but he was on the council younger than anybody else. It's just kind of insane that she is the same age as him, got to the temple before him, and ended up being his Padawan. I mean, yes, he is, the chosen one and all, but whatever. It's just interesting, and the time frame really jumps around the Ahsoka series because we see her as a baby, we see her training with Anakin, and then we see her fighting an Inquisitor, and it's like it's gonna jump around a lot, and it's gonna be on you to memorize or understand where in the timeline we are when you're watching. Because there's so much to take in from even the trailer. I can't even imagine 3 episodes of it.
I mean, we've came up with 2 hours worth of conversation on a 2-minute trailer. So imagine, what they're gonna give us when we have 3 episodes of it.
Really,
and the 6 episodes of the entire miniseries.
I can sit here and literally just talk about every little piece of what happens in that trailer, and we're going to talk about crystals for a second, Kyber crystals, because there's a couple points in both Dooku's story and in Ahsoka's story where crystals are going to play a vital role. So we see Dooku with his blue crystal, his lightsaber. We know that in episode 2 he has a red crystal. So we are probably going to see, for the first time in the history of Star Wars, a character, Dooku, bleeding his crystal red, and kind of the process and what that entails, which I think is awesome. We're going to finally get to see somebody, what it looks like to bleed your crystal, what it really takes to pour your hatred into a crystal and bleed it from one color to another. It's just so interesting.
I think that's a fantastic point. It's because it's something we haven't really seen before. We haven't seen really any lightsaber building.
The only thing we've seen crystal-wise was the Clone Wars episodes where they go and pull them out of Ilum, which is, that is what it is. But when it turns to in terms of the color of crystals, is in Visions. There's one episode where the girl, her father builds lightsabers for the the fake Jedi Master or whatever, and she gets her crystal, and when she first ignites it, it's just white. There's no color to it. There's no hue. It's just a white blade, and it's not as strong. But in the end of that episode, it gets its color. It kind of turns green because of her skill set and her emotions and how her connection to the Force. And that is something I think is going to be very vital in the Dooku series towards the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, because I think you'll see maybe some lightsaber building.
I would love to see Dooku build his lightsaber and Ahsoka build hers.
Well, that's what I was kind of leaning towards. It's Ahsoka. Ahsoka building her sabers. Because I mean, her sabers are a story in itself. The white crystal and just her unique style. It's a great talking point and something that we should see, I think.
Yeah, and the opposite of bleeding a crystal, which Dooku is likely going to do in his 3 episodes, is purifying the crystals, which finally we're going to see Ahsoka kill the Inquisitor that she's going to fight, which we know happens because it happened in comic books already before, so we know it'll happen. We finally get to see it in all of its glory, essentially. And she's gonna take those red crystals from his lightsaber, and she's going to purify those red crystals, which is the opposite of bleeding, where she kind of pours her connection in the Force into the crystals to take away the red hue of the crystal and make it that purified white that we see in both Rebels as well as The Mandalorian. And I think that's going to happen towards the end of her show, her 3 episodes, which is going to be really cool. The focus on crystals is going to be, I think, very vital to both Dooku and Ahsoka's stories moving into the future of Star Wars here.
Yeah, I mean, and it's such the building the lightsaber is such a cool piece of Star Wars. I mean, when you go to Disney World,
oh, dude,
and you're
that experience,
you get to build a lightsaber. I mean, sure, it's not real.
Sure, we're not using the Force to do it. But
but the experience is awesome. And then just imagine that, but like in the Star Wars universe, getting to see that process, and pretty much if you haven't gone to Disney World,
do it
and
please.
build a lightsaber. It's just a great experience,
dude. I have it. I have my experience at least recorded. I had my girlfriend with me. She recorded me building my saber, and like I said, you're not building with the Force like they do in Star Wars, but there is, when you're in that room with like the 10 or 12 other people or whatever it is. I know you had less, right? You had like 2 or 3.
I had there was 6 of us total.
Yeah, dude. For me, there was like 15.
It was it's a much more personal experience.
Yeah.
And of course, if you guys haven't figured out by now, I'm dark side all the way. So, out of the 6 people, I'm the only one with the red crystal. I'm the only one building with the Imperial setup.
Yeah.
So, everyone's kind of giving me the side eye.
Yeah.
But it was just such a cool experience, like.
It's hard. You can't even put it into words.
You
right?
really can't.
That was my experience too.
It was just me. It was me, 5 other random people,
mm-hmm.
and then the Saber Master.
Yes, the Saber Master. Yeah.
It was so cool.
The experience. It's so hard to explain, but the only word I can really use for it is like, I guess too, it's like mystical, but it's also magical. It's like you're there and like the music plays and the lights change, the RGB lights, they're changing, and like you can just feel it in the room. And especially if you're like a huge Star Wars fan like we both are, and if you're listening to us, I'm sure you are. The experience of it when you're putting together your saber and each little piece, and you put your crystal in, and then you put it in the thing, and you pick it up that first time.
You're putting the hilt on and the different combinations of pieces that you get to choose.
When you first pick up the saber out of like the tube, dude. When you first put that ignition and it's like zoom, you're like, oh my god.
It's such a great experience.
And the weight of it when you pick it up, it feels like
there's some weight to it,
dude. They're like 12-pound sabers, but when you pick it up for that first time, it literally feels like there's like magic running through your body, and it feels like a feather in your hand. You're just like, this is the coolest fucking experience I've ever had in Star Wars. This is the closest I'm ever gonna get.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
This is the closest I'm ever gonna be to actually being in Star Wars.
And dude, it's like it's a magical experience. That's the only way I can describe
outside
it.
of like Rise of Resistance, because that's probably a close second.
That's a close second. I honestly, with that ride, I loved it. I really wish that like I want to be able to like experience that with like a group of like my friends, and that's it. Like nobody, like 5 of us, and it's just me and my friends, and we're just like on it ourselves, and we actually have to figure it out. Like with nobody directing us, like we have to figure out what to do. Like that would be insane.
Yeah, like in an escape room for Star Wars, essentially.
Dude, I would lose my shit.
Like I think if you guys haven't been to Disney and rode Rise of the Resistance, YouTube that shit, because I'm spoiling the hell out of it right now.
Yeah, if you don't want to listen to this, like skip like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
forward,
just
you'll be alright.
I'm gonna go on a tirade here,
dude.
But
it's such a good ride.
Like, you get on the shuttle, they're trying to get you out. You get pulled in by a Star Destroyer,
dude.
And next thing you know, they bust open the doors. You have Imperial officers, stormtroopers coming in,
and they're screaming
at you.
Like it's awesome.
And then you get dragged down this hallway. But I'm sorry. You're actually in a hangar of the Star Destroyer, looking out into deep space.
When they pull open that door, right, and you have these officers screaming at you and like singling you out specifically, you're like shuddering. You're like, holy shit! Like this is actually happening, dude. And then you come off that ship and you turn that corner, and you see a legion of stormtroopers.
There's at least 500 stormtroopers staring at you.
They're just standing there with their guns just up, and you're just like, no way, bro.
You see, like...
I have a sick image, guys. I'll put it on the screen for you. A sick image.
The bay doors are open. You're looking out into deep space. You see First Order Star Destroyers passing by in the bay.
Bro, I'm going to try and pull this picture up, and I'm going to show you.
You walk down the hall. You're still getting screamed at this entire time.
Oh yeah, like they're hauling. These officers are going ham on you.
And then you get thrown into an interrogation cell where you run into Hux and Kylo Ren.
Bro, like that.
Oh my god, it was so good.
Bro, this picture is just—it's the epitome of what you're like. It's so insane. Like, there's like,
oh yeah,
literally just legion of stormtroopers, and then you look up to your right, and there's a TIE fighter up on the wall, just hanging there, and like, dude, the experience is just insane. It's so out there, and you have
Disney
Amon Calamari piloting your ship.
Disney did such a good job of just like making you feel like you're actually in Star Wars,
dude. And that one hallway, when they line you up, like you're looking down the hall. And it literally looks like it doesn't end. It looks like you're on an actual Star Destroyer in the long-ass hallway. And you're looking down the hall, and it's just like the white lights on the wall. And you're just like, oh my God. You're mesmerized the entire time.
There's Imperial officers everywhere. There's stormtroopers at every corner.
Walking around, making calls on the radio.
You have the droids going back and forth in the hallway.
Yeah, the little trash droids. Dude, there's just so much cool shit. And, like, Disney really outdid themselves with that ride specifically. Like, most rides are like a minute or two. This is a 15-minute experience. It's not a ride. This is an experience.
It's an absolute must ride.
Like Smuggler's Run, the Millennium Falcon.
That was cool. That was okay.
Fun.
Yeah,
it
was
cool.
You
know, if you have a group of your friends, I'm sure it's a very, very cool experience to experience as a group. You know, as a squad.
Yeah, I went with a group of 5.
Yeah,
so
I rode that ride myself. And my girlfriend also rode that ride herself. It was a cool experience. You know, I'm not gonna say it was the best experience I've ever had on a ride because it wasn't. I wish we were able to kind of more freely explore the Millennium Falcon, kind of walk around, take pictures everywhere. You know, sit in the seats and stuff. But you know that I'm not really that worried about. But the experience overall in Galaxy's Edge, for me, I wish it was a little more. Like, I wish that there was, like, more stuff to, like, that I could interact with. I also went during COVID, so it's hard to...
You're sitting there walking around, and you're seeing... Obviously, you're seeing, First Order stormtroopers walking around.
Yep.
You're seeing Imperial officers walking around. And not just, like, in the ride. That's not the area in general.
Yeah, and just the whole thing.
They're literally patrolling.
Yeah, dude, it's insane.
You have the characters popping out of nowhere, like Rey's popping out of like from behind like walls.
Chewie's just
hanging out. Yeah.
And you're like, what the hell?
You see like as you walk around, you see like the A-wing, the old A-wing, the Y-wing,
the X-wing. You see TIE fighters.
You see Poe Dameron's X-wing.
Yeah, that one was sick, dude.
You obviously the TIE fighter you see in the hangar bay.
Yeah,
while you run around, and then even the restaurants. Like the restaurants.
I didn't go into the restaurant.
The restaurant.
Unfortunately,
I had to eat the restaurant.
We were crushed on time that day, so I didn't get to fully experience like a whole day there. But when I go back down to my dad's house, which he lives in Florida, I'm gonna go. Like I'm gonna literally go. And I'm gonna spend an entire day in Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, spend a whole day there.
Like we'll probably do like a day in Galaxy's Edge and then go to Harry Potter and spend a day there too.
Like what happens too is like when you're walking around, like everyone's in character.
Yep.
Like so, I foolishly lit my lightsaber while it was still in my hand. So this gentleman was like, "I never seen a human survive a lightsaber strike to the hand," so I had to like go along with it. I was like, "Yep, my hand's actually made of Beskar." And he was like, "Wow," and I was like, "Yep, tragic boating accident." But like even like the people that are there, like they're trained and like they they make you feel like you're in the universe. You know,
Yeah.
it's just so
Even if it's not the
cool.
time period we wished, it's still an amazing experience.
Yeah, and then obviously like if you were to stay at the hotel, which I would love to do.
Dude, but have you seen the price of that thing?
Dude, crazy. It's
Dude, it's
crazy.
insane. There's no way I could ever not right now. Like in my my financial situation right now, there's no way I could do that. Like listen, I could do it. I wouldn't eat for 6 months, but I could do it, you know? Like I could do it. I just wouldn't eat for 6 months. Like it is what it is, but that I would love to experience. But I've heard reviews that are like some say it's like awesome and some say it's like not that good.
Well,
which is unfortunate.
I think what you're gonna get is that you're gonna get a mixed bag. Whether it's the casual fan base is saying it wasn't, the casual fan base is probably saying like, "Yo, this is crazy," whereas the guys like us are kind of like,
"Nah, it could be better."
Nah, it could be better.
Right? Like, because we're thinking Star Wars Hotel, dude. You better be waking me up at 2:00 in the morning and send me on a mission. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like I want to be in fucking Star Wars.
I want to be interrogated by Palpatine myself.
Right, like I want a stormtrooper in my shit, like yelling at me. I want to be put into handcuffs on a chair, like I want to know what that feels like. Like I really want to know. Like show me what that's like. Give me missions directly.
Listen, you know, I might be leaving in or don't call me rebel scum. You know
right,
what I mean?
like man, like I want to feel what it feels like. And like, dude, it's just I don't know. I've heard from hardcore fans, they say it could have been better for like for the price, because like the price is outrageous. But like, let's be real, it's Disney. You're there to splurge.
Oh yeah.
Splurge. My goal is to wait a couple years so that they can make some advancements in the hotel, so that like the experience is better.
They say the lightsaber battles are fucking awesome.
I'm sure they are.
Like, and I mean, like I'm talking like the blades actually come out and they retract.
Yeah,
like,
but
I've seen the shows.
I've seen the clip of the blade that retracts. Dude,
it's not a combat blade by any
means. She comes out
of it's a show blade. Then they dip down and pick up the fighting blade.
Bro, but the video I see, she didn't even like make it look like, oh, like I dropped something. Like she literally just crouched down and switched out for a different saber. It was very obviously not the same saber.
Yeah, but
there was no trash.
So cool.
Like, dude, what they could have, dude, easy way. Let her like put it down to her side, and then like let like a gonk droid walk by and just put it on like a little holster and pull out another one, and then boom, you have your and it's at least the switch is hidden. But we're getting way off track. Holy shit! But it's okay.
Well, yeah, we kind of went way off the rails.
But dude, Disney has done an incredible job in that sense, and I kind of wish that they did more of that immersement into the shows.
I think that
some of them feel off base.
I think that's what they're going for, though. I mean, they've sunk this amount of money in a physical attraction and a physical place in Florida and a physical place in California as well.
Yeah.
So they're all in.
I mean, you balled out for $4 billion to buy Lucasfilm.
I'm saying they're all in.
You're going all in.
Yeah, they built obviously a hotel. They built 2 attractions in their 2 different theme parks. They worked on multiple shows. They have new movies. New movies came out.
Yeah,
they're trying to new video games potentially on the horizon. I've heard a few whispers of maybe another Battlefront coming out.
Whispers, very quiet whispers of Battlefront. But Jedi Survivor coming out soon. Going to be a great game.
Yeah, Knights of the Old Republic got delayed, but still potentially coming out.
Eclipse coming out in 2025, unfortunately.
Yeah, so like Disney's doing a great job, but like we need to see that level of dedication in the shows.
Yeah, I think the shows
like don't oversaturate me with shows that are going to have poor content.
Exactly.
Oversaturate me with shows that have great content.
It is really difficult. Like I will give Disney credit. They pump out content. I just wish that there was care, and I think that in the Star Wars department we're pretty safe. With Filoni and Favreau at the helm, if they stay at the helm, we should be pretty safe. Because Filoni is from George Lucas. Like, he is the brainchild of George Lucas, basically. You know, he is the closest to Jango, or he is the closest to Boba as you can be. Like, he is like if George Lucas is Jango, Filoni is Boba. Like, it is there. They're the same.
And this is why I have hope that they're going to create another sequel trilogy.
Dude, We're not even gonna do it because we're gonna go on our. We know how this. We've played this game before.
Yes, sir. Every week.
But we'll go to another quick commercial break. Should we even do that? I don't even want to know. Do we want to just jump right into Andor? It's so short.
Andor's gonna be like a 5-minute conversation.
Yeah. All right. Let's just jump right into that then. I don't want to oversaturate with the ads.
Andor,
here.
they literally just extended the trailer by about 30 seconds and added a couple extra frames.
Yeah.
I mean, again,
underwhelming a little bit.
I don't.
But I get it.
Like, we know what Andor is gonna be, kind of. You know, it's gonna be a. It's essentially we're gonna give this guy his name on the title, but it's actually just gonna be about the rebellion. That's what Andor is.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because they could have gone a really cool way with this. Listen, I have the highest of hopes for this show. When it was announced, everybody was shitting on it. They're like, it's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be terrible. I'm watching theory videos saying, it could be okay. Like, it could be pretty good. Like, there is potential for it to be really good. There's also probably triple the potential for it to suck ass. Like, there's more potential for it to be bad than there is for it to be good. But I still have hope that it will be good because it looks like they've put a lot of care into making sure it looks right as a Star Wars film or as a Star Wars series.
Yeah, well, you're going to have you actually get you're getting, like I said, like if you look at the trailer, how much do you see Andor? Maybe 20 seconds of the 2-minute long trailer.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a show disguised to be a solo story, but it's actually just a tale about the rebellion, which I'm okay with because the rebellion is more than just one person.
It is.
You know, there's many different people that played a huge part in the rebellion. You know, it's more than just Leia, more than just Han,
And
more
Luke.
than just Luke. It was, you know, the people who sacrificed their lives at the end of Rogue One. During Rogue One,
Yeah.
you know, we're gonna see a lot more loss of life during Andor.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be gritty, grounded, and just real. Like I think it's gonna be real.
Here's probably my movie comparison to what I think Andor is gonna be. Have you ever seen Black Hawk Down?
I haven't seen it in a long time. I've seen it. I was young. I remember parts of it, but I know it's a really good movie.
Like it's gonna be like kind of like a Black Hawk Down, where it's gonna be very gritty. It's gonna be very real. You're gonna be very emotionally attached to a lot of these characters, and when they die,
You're like, oh,
it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt a lot.
That's the one thing I don't love about Andor, and it's like, I don't know. It's hard because
like you know what happens to these characters. You're like they all die.
It's very
like,
hard to tell a story with characters who die.
Like you're gonna get so emotionally attached to these characters, and when their death finally comes, it's gonna break your heart.
Yeah, it's
so don't get attached.
For Andor specifically, I never really loved his character in Rogue One. Like I was never like I loved Andor. I loved the other guy, the Asian dude who like kind of used the Force, the blind guy.
See, I was a big fan of the chick. I felt
Jen?
bad for her. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Jen too, but I really love. I'm more of like a. When it comes to Star Wars, I want to know about the Force. Right, like,
I want what the Force. The Force is
and you
me.
know what's interesting about that? In that, at one point in Rebels, Ahsoka she meditates and she says that. She said, "I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me." And she meditates while saying that, and like that's her way of meditating, connecting with the Force. So I feel like after watching that in Rebels, I was like, dude, give this dude a story. Like, give him more. Like, we know he dies, but give him more.
Yeah, I mean, like, we could definitely get some more content on him. I wouldn't mind. You know, like...
Even if it's a short series, like a 3-4 episode short series.
Yeah, or just, you know...
Just something.
Throw him in Tales of the Jedi.
Fuck it, dude. Season 2, Tales of the Jedi.
Yes, sir.
I mean, like, there's just... I don't know. It's hard to tell a story with Andor because I feel like coming out of Rogue One, he had a really good story, but a lot of people still didn't really like the character. He was played really well. The actor is incredible. I just feel like you know he dies. You know when he dies. You know that he turns good. So, you know he was a kind of sketchy character who turned good. Well, he's in the series, you're just seeing a sketchy character. Like, you already know what his, that type is. Well, it's kind of hard to tell the story with him.
Like, Andor is just a bunch of a series about a bunch of sketchy characters.
It really is. It's Saul Guerrero, who is essentially
Hella sketchy.
dude. He's a terror. He's a terrorist. Like, he is the closest in Star Wars we're gonna get to a terrorist. Like, he's a good terrorist against the Empire, but he also does things that are morally questionable.
That's from perspective there.
Yeah,
So I'm an Empire guy, so relax.
he does morally questionable things. Like, they might be for the good, but it's morally questionable, and it's hard to kind of root for somebody like that. But I don't know. It's just, we know these characters die. We know Saul dies. We know Andor dies. We know Bail Organa dies. How do we tell a story with these people when it's hard, right? Because, like, in Obi-Wan, you could use Bail Organa very well because it was a time period that was very easily, like, tellable. Whereas Andor, it seemed like in Rogue One he'd never done anything prominent in his life until he risked his life for the rebellion. Like, that's what it seemed like. And so it's like, now we're trying to tell a prominent story. It's difficult.
Yeah, like I said, that's why I think
I have hope, though.
This is why. This is kind of why I think that literally they slapped Andor instead of calling it Tales of the Rebellion.
Yeah.
They slapped Andor on it to give it a name. And you can even do some wordplay on that with Andor.
Yeah.
If this thing run multiple seasons, obviously you finish up with the destruction of second Death Star, and then boom, done. There you go.
It's just
you can get clever with it.
Yeah, like,
but like I said, this isn't a show about Andor. This is a show about the rebellion.
Yeah.
Which is I think it's a slap in the face of the actor who played Andor because it's very misleading. Because, like I said, based off the trailer, you can tell that this isn't about Andor. This is about the rebellion. This is about Saul Guerrero. This is about what's going on in the Senate. So what's going on behind the scenes, getting funding for the rebellion, and a whole bunch of other different things.
It could be a classic misdirect. I mean, in Marvel, we see this all the time, right? In the trailer for Infinity War, we saw the Hulk. The Hulk doesn't show up at all in that movie except for the very beginning, and he gets punched out by Thanos. And then we never see him again for the rest of the movie. So it could be just a classic trailer misdirect where we don't see a lot of Andor, so we think, oh, maybe we know where this story's going. And then after the first 3 episodes, we're completely lost. I think the trailer footage that we're seeing is only from the first 3 episodes. Like, I think that what we're seeing is strictly from those first 3 episodes that are going to come out.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to
just to misdirect us.
They're not going to give you anything more than that.
I feel like they can't, right? Like, you can't throw the integrity of your series off. I just think it's very. I have hope for the show. I really do hope it's going to be great. I won't guarantee anything. My mind is open, but my expectations are still low.
I'm going to end it on, we'll see.
Yeah, my that's the best way I can frame what I feel for that show, is that my mind is open, but my expectations are low.
Very low. I've been down on the series.
Yeah, you were one of the people who said, man, an Andor series, what the fuck? And I was one of the ones who was like, yeah, maybe it'll be good. Maybe. And then I see the first trailer and I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be shit.
Well, if they portray it as the rebellion and not Andor, I'm okay with it. If they portray it as Andor, you lost me because his story ends.
Right, like, his character and his type. What he does already. Like,
he's a poor man's Han Solo.
Pretty much. He really is. He's a questionable character who does questionable things, who eventually does good things. Still questionably, but good. It's I don't know. I have hope. I hope it's great. We know Tales of the Jedi is going to be great, coming out in a month. Mando coming out in a couple months, in February. High hopes for those 2 shows. High hopes for the future of Star Wars as a whole when it comes to Ahsoka and Season 2 of Bad Batch and Season 2 of Visions, and there's one more show that I'm missing.
Ahsoka, Bad Batch, Visions. I think that's it. I think everything.
I feel like there's one more, but either way, the future of Star Wars I feel like is bright, and I think that there's a lot to look forward to. And if you're looking forward to it, you might as well hang around here because we're going to be talking a whole lot of Star Wars forever. We're also going to be mixing in some other stuff eventually. Just right now, we're kind of trying to stick with the Star Wars stuff while it's coming out. But we will get around to making other stuff as well. It's just hard when there's like new Star Wars content every week. It's like we kind of are forced to talk about Star Wars. When Star Wars shows
I
are
don't see
over,
a problem.
listen, when Star Wars shows are over and like December time, then we can talk other stuff because then there's no more Star Wars to talk about at that time.
Well, by then, you'll have the start of Marvel Phase 5.
Yep.
We can talk a little bit about that.
We'll talk maybe some other series as well. Maybe some like, oh, dude, Indiana Jones is getting a movie too. We can talk about that.
Yeah, but it's the last one ever.
Yeah, but that's fine. There's so much to talk about. I mean, maybe not. I don't know. The last Indiana Jones was ass, I think. So.
Crystal Skull was actually pretty cool. There's lots going on there.
Was that the one with Shia?
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf.
I don't know. I heard that one was ass.
Shia LaBeouf.
But anyway, guys, thank you all for hanging out and tuning in today. I mean, it was a little bit long one, but I don't know. After I put it in the edit, we'll see how long it really is. But like I said, thank you for tuning in. If you guys want to support us in any way, or just give us your voice, there is a voice message like box. I believe it's on Spotify. I know for a fact that it's on Anchor. If you guys don't have Anchor, you can go ahead and download that. If you listen to the ads of this episode, you know what Anchor can do for you if you're a podcaster or for just a listener. And like I said, if you want to support us in any other way, we do have a subscription through Anchor, I believe, where you can get some exclusive content. We have yet to record anything for that, but we will hopefully eventually some point do that. And then we also have our merch line, also set up by Colormatic Studios. You could also help
This hoodie is still keep me warm, by the way.
Yeah, man. There's a lot. We got all kinds of merchandise. I carry around all my podcast gear in my A&E duffel bag, so you guys can pick up whatever you need over there. Links for everything, you can find it on A&E Twitter. They might be somewhere in the box. I don't even know if there is a box. We'll find out. But thank you all for listening to this episode. Lots more to talk about next week. I just can't wait to talk again next week. I'm like get me 1 week from now, and we'll do it again, man. Any final words from you, my friend?
No, as always, it's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you guys for listening to us and supporting the channel, supporting this podcast, and really just we want to hear your feedback. Hit us with a comment, hit us with just anything. We want to hear from you guys. What do you want us to talk about?
Yeah, give us some suggestions. I would love that.
We have free time. We could do 2 episodes a week if you want to talk about other things.
Yeah, we can find time. We can find time.
I would gladly
do them digitally if we have
I would gladly talk to Jason any day of the week. All you need to do is just tell me a day.
And even still, if you guys ever want, we can do live podcasts so you guys have an easier way to talk to us. Maybe we'll experiment with that idea one day. Well, we don't know yet. Maybe moving forward we can do that at some point. But future Star Wars is bright. Mando going to be great. Tales of Jedi going to be great. Hopefully Andor is going to be great. Can't wait to talk it. Next week we get, in a couple days actually we get episode 1 of Andor. So if you guys are hyped for that, go ahead and stay tuned to us. We'll be back again next Sunday, Monday, whenever this releases. And I love you all. We love you all. And we'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
Peace.